But I had to work out that term, and that was a real painful experience, because it's like my heart had gone, and I'd really struggled. But it meant that at the end of that, I was finished. And since I was not a saver, didn't save money and think ahead or something. Yeah. So whatever little money I had was exhausted very quickly, and I was opened up to the wind really for a bit.
And I think you went to stay with your sister.
My sister, yes. My sister offered me a room in her apartment.
And what happened to you during that time internally, and what was there a process going on?
Yes. Somehow I felt what could be called my life, and from the position of me living my life, making decisions, that was very much changing anyway. It was an easy change for me, because naturally, I don't know if it's my religious upbringing or something, this orientation towards just surrendering things felt very comfortable for me. So it was my way of just saying, okay, you know what is best, and you brought all these things into my heart, so you helped me to sort it out. It seemed to work somehow.
Yeah. So it was a classic case of surrender, just saying,
yes,
whatever happens is going to happen.
Yes.
Yeah. Did you feel that took courage, or was it just obviously that was?
I felt I was being assisted anyway.
Yes.
In my feelings was changing to accommodate that kind of outlook. It wasn't difficult. I felt naturally to trust. It was a natural thing for me.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then you were there 6 years or so in this, what I would call process. You were letting go.
Little fragments of memory about this time comes, even now, little bits pop up.
Yes.
But over that period, I cannot really. There's a sense I cannot really remember who I was in that time. But there was no real schedule in my life when I finished teaching.
Yeah.
So I was completely opened up to just how a day might unfold, you see.
Yes.
There was not many desires, sort of like pulling here and there. But there was a very strong inner sense that to throw everything into this fire somehow.
Yeah.
It felt very exciting, not scary at all. I felt throw everything in. Somehow I felt like I just walked out on my life, and it wasn't difficult. Just threw everything into this experience. I say, okay, whatever,
There's a quote from you in the book about that time you felt you were seated in the lap of God.
Yes, yes.
And that's a wonderful way of describing it.
Yes. In some way, still this feeling is there.
I'm sure it is, yeah.
Yes.
And then, just to follow the story chronologically, you then, in 1993, you travelled to India.
Yes, I did, yes.
And what was your motivation for going there?
Well, what had happened in that, until I was quite old compared to many people, I was not so much reading. I only read like 2 books,
Really?
Yes. One was The Pearl by John Steinbeck, because we had to perform it at school. I mean, of my own volition, I'm talking about, not choosing to read it. Yeah. And the second one was, I found in a library one day, I don't know how this came about, there was a big book, 88 short stories by Guy de Maupassant. I don't know where this came from, but I read a bit and I was fascinated by the strangeness of these stories, and I read this book. But I hadn't read anything. I was not drawn to reading. If you found me with a book, it's because it had pictures in it. I like pictures. But words, I was not so much, accustomed to looking into words deeply and so on. Yeah. And so, where are we on this point?
We're talking about the reason you went to India.
So, okay. And then there arose in this new time, this new period in my life, this a desire to learn more. I wanted something said, I wanted to find out more about this. When I could meet Michael occasionally, I would just empty out my questions and whatever was coming up in front of him, and he would pacify my mind somehow. But then there arose some curiosity. I wanted to learn something more, and I went into one bookshop, spiritual Christian bookshop actually near my town, and I went in, and I remember it was a very powerful experience for me. It was as though I entered this space, and it was very noisy for my mind. It was like shh, like this.
So all the words from the books were cascading on you.
You're saying it. It was just like this.
Yeah.
It was like all these words were screaming inside my head, and I just came out. And I did not go into another shop like this for about 6 years.
Yeah.
You know? No, 6 years. I don't know what 6 years. For a long time, I didn't go again. But then what happened was, in our town, there was just a rising up of this new wave of young Muslims were coming into the town, and they were kind of giving away. They give away a lot of books, outside the tube station and so on. And I was on fire for looking at anything that felt like more of this, you see. So a lot of fears came, though.
The fear came up.
Fear came up very strongly, that somehow I was drawn, some curiosity, some urge to look at what they were displaying. But there's a feeling, I don't know if maybe the whole religious thing or something, that I was abandoning Christ or something, I don't know. But there was an attraction for this. So I found a book from one of them, said Christ in Islam or something. And because of the Christ, okay, I went for it a bit.
Yeah.
And then then the fear fell away as I saw that the actuality of reading it, there was nothing fearful about it. And then somehow someone gave me a book of Paramahamsa Yogananda, a little thing, and I read some of this. And then one day I was in the center of London, and I came across Watkins' bookshop.
I know, yeah.
And I went into this shop. I was a bit hesitantly, after the memory of the first experience. But I went into this shop, and then I went down to this Indians. I've always had an attraction for India. I don't know why, though. And I went for the smallest book I could find, because like this. And I found a book by Sri Ramana Maharshi. I saw the picture first, and I really liked it. But when I opened it, it was a book on self-inquiry, small thing. And when I started to try and read it, it completely blew me away. It was so noisy for me, because it's like I had to use my mind in a way. It felt very, very clever or something. And so I felt maybe someone put the wrong inside on the cover or something, because they didn't tally up with this beautiful, peaceful face.
Yeah.
So it wasn't speaking to me. In this way, I put it back, and I found a book of Sri Ramakrishna. And it was, I flicked through some pages, and I felt something about this book. And I bought, this was one of the first books I bought, The Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna.
Right.
And this became my second Bible in a way. I was reading this, I was heating it, actually. I didn't want it to finish, this reading. It was so full. I found that in the words of Ramakrishna was satisfying something deep inside. And so when I went to India in 1993, the intention was just to go to Dakshineswar and to visit the place where he lived, although he was not there anymore, seen physically. So that was what drew me to India.
And you met some disciples out there that were followers of Papaji.
Yes.
And you ended up going to visit Papaji out there.
I ended up not going to Calcutta at all, where Ramakrishna. I ended up to meet Papaji, who I knew nothing about. I knew nothing about sages and gurus, nothing like this.
Yeah.
But somehow I felt very blessed to have been brought to him. I felt like I was brought to him. Yes.